The owner of a home or other site may decide to install a PV system whether predictions indicate it is a good investment or not, or when the calculation of net present value has not ever been done. But no matter the investment value, a way still needs to be found to pay for the system. There are four main types of payment methods that people use for a PV system. These are paying for the system directly, borrowing money to pay for the system, leasing the system, and buying electricity from the system through a power purchase agreement. The last two methods are relatively new but are becoming increasingly popular. However, they are not available in all areas. Some payment arrangements are really combinations of the first three methods. A site owner may decide simply to buy a PV system and have it installed, usually as a package from an installation company. This is the simplest method to obtain a PV system, and it is always available to people who have the money. In the earlier days of PV, it was often the only option, and it is still quite common today. As prices for PV systems have decreased, direct payment is within reach for more people. The advantages of this payment structure include simplicity, since the contract is usually between the owner and the installer. Also, the owner of the site then gets the tax rebates and owns all of the electricity generated and all of the SRECs. This may seem obvious, but we'll see it isn't always true with other payment options. But there are disadvantages to this payment structure also. The owner is responsible for monitoring and maintaining the system, which the owner may lack the skill or time to do. Receiving tax rebates for a PV system often takes longer for an individual system owner than for a company, and sometimes the rebates available to individuals have been smaller. It is also often difficult to sell SRECs in small quantities, and the price for them is not as good as for larger groups of SRECs. Another option for obtaining a PV system is to borrow the money for it. This is actually a type of home improvement loan. Like a home improvement loan or a home or car mortgage, borrowing money for a PV system stretches out the payments over a period of time, during which the owner can earn the money to pay for it while already receiving the benefits. However, it has often been difficult to get a loan for a PV system. Lenders have been hesitant to lend money for a technology they do not understand. If the business wants to buy a system, lenders may be worried if they calculate a negative net present value for the system, even if the owner sees other benefits in buying the system. While some lenders have set up special loan programs for PV systems in some areas, this has not been a common method of paying for a PV system. PACE programs are a type of borrowing program in which the money for a PV system is borrowed from the local municipality. The loan is then repaid as part of the owner's property tax bill. The first PACE program began in Berkeley, California in 2008. They are now available in many cities and counties in California, and also some places in a few other states. However, there have been legal problems in using these programs on private residences. As a result, PACE programs are generally only used for projects on commercial buildings. A more recent approach to obtaining a PV system is to lease the entire system from a company that remains the owner. Often, this company is also the company that installs the system. The details of the lease agreement vary from one leasing company to another, but typically the leasing company will keep the tax rebates and the SRECs while the site owner keeps the electricity generated. Also, importantly, the leasing company is responsible for monitoring and maintenance and selling the SRECs. The PV system is still connected electrically as before, typically with net metering. Details of leasing arrangements vary, so it is important to review them carefully before signing. However, they may be of great benefit to the site owner. At the end of a lease, the leasing company generally doesn't want to take back the PV system, so ownership is usually then transferred to the site owner, perhaps with a final payment. This arrangement is not available in all areas. Leases in which the leasing company keeps and earns money from SREC sales are only available where SREC prices make it profitable to the leasing company. Sungevity is a California-based company that both sells and leases systems. See the comparison of the two options on their website at the link below. Additional information is available elsewhere on the website. There are many ways that the first three payment methods are combined. For example, you might pay part of the cost of a system out of the money you have, and then borrow the rest of the money. Or you might lease the system initially with an agreement to purchase the system for an arranged price at the end of the lease. The other payment arrangement that is becoming popular is for a separate company other than the site owner to keep full ownership of the system and simply sell the electricity to the site owner. In this arrangement, the system owner monitors and maintains the system, receives the tax rebates, and owns and sells the SRECs. The system owner sells the solar-generated electricity to the site owner at a set price. Often, the price is set lower than grid electricity, or slightly higher at first, but at a fixed price that is likely to be lower than future grid electricity prices. The electricity sale arrangement is called a Preferred Provider Agreement, or PPA for short. These Preferred Provider Agreements have become popular in areas with high SREC prices, and are generally beneficial to both site and system owners. However, they are only available in some areas. SolarCity is a company that offers both PV system leases and PPAs. The link here takes you to their discussion of the options. Leases and PPAs are also discussed by the company Sunrun on their website. However, Sunrun only offers one or the other depending on the location of the site. Let's talk about cash flow for the different methods of paying for a PV system. Suppose you are a homeowner and you choose to pay for a PV system with a single direct payment. You will pay for the system around the time it starts working, so you will initially have a large cash flow around you, which we show here as negative. After that, your electric bills will be smaller, so the result of the PV system will be less money going to the electric company. We can visualize this as a positive cash flow from the PV system, even if it does not fully eliminate the monthly electric bill. However, the monthly gains from the PV system will be much smaller than the initial investment. Sometime later, you will benefit from the 30% tax deduction. Exactly when this occurs relative to your initial payment depends on when the system begins working, when you file your tax return, and when you get any tax rebate you are owed. Now let's look at the cash flow for a loan or a lease. Instead of one large outflow at the beginning, you have many smaller payments that go to the company you borrowed money from or the company you are leasing the system from. These payments are typically a constant amount every month. Your positive cash flow will still come every month from a reduced electric bill. We can see on this scale how the savings from solar energy vary with the time of the year. With the PPA, both the expenses and the savings vary with month. Every month, you will have a smaller electric bill than you would have without the PV system, but you will also have to pay whoever owns the PV system on your house for the electricity generated. Hopefully, the amount you pay for the PV generated electricity will be smaller than the amount you save on your bills to the electric company, at least in the long run. We should point out that the graph we just saw for simple ownership was on a different scale than the others. Even this comparison is not on the same scale. On the same scale, the height of the loan, lease, or PPA graph on the right would be even smaller. We see that the one-time payment in the simple ownership method is very large compared to the individual payments in the other methods. But on the other hand, there is no loan, lease, or PPA company that wants to make a profit from the project. In summary, we have seen 4 basic types of payment methods for PV systems. Many payment plans are combinations of these types. Which payment methods are available and which work well depends on the location of the system.